July has almost come and gone, and with it we saw a bunch of top-notch indie games hitting the market. Welcome to Get Indie Gaming and to my picks of the top 5 indie games to check out from this July 2019. Before we dive into these, let's take a quick moment to run through a handful of honourable mentions. Out July 18th on PC and all the consoles, Etherborn is an environmental puzzle platformer that looks and sounds incredible, although on reflection after a couple of playthroughs, the hockey stick difficulty ramp up feels misplaced, with Etherborn getting real hard real quick. Landing, cheeky pun intended, on the PC July 11th, Eagle Island is a 2D platformer with retro pixel art, randomly generated worlds, and can be played within a story or permadeath mode. It does a lot really well, and while some have compared this to Shovel Knight, it doesn't quite gel all together in a similar vein. Visually stunning with some wonderful and intimate moments, Sea of Solitude's underlying story is fine enough, although it's let down by repetitive gameplay elements and clunky controls that fail to offer a cohesive experience. Sea of Solitude launched July 5th on the PC, PlayStation 4 and Xbox. With those honourable mentions taken care of, let's go straight into my top 5 games for this July 2019. At number 5 with Blazing Chrome, which came out on PC and all the usual consoles this past July 11th. It's also available as part of the Xbox Games Pass, which is the version I played. Now I'm old enough to have done my time with the likes of Contra and Metal Slug, and felt a darn sight younger upon firing this one up. Graphically and mechanically, Blazing Chrome plays like a game from my youth in how you move, how you go prone, and how you shoot, and how you melee. The melee function feels particularly solid and is a nod to how Metal Slug went about things. While all very retro, Blazing Chrome is more accessible and modern in terms of its overall difficulty and use of checkpoints. This is particularly noticeable at the bosses, where you won't be needing to fight your way back from anything like the lengths you'd have had to have done back in the day. Graphically, things are all very impressive, particularly the bosses, as are the sound effects and the music, which almost perfectly replicate as heard in the games from the past Blazing Chrome looks to replicate and honour. It is short though, and comes in at just over an hour's playtime, although you'll be hard pressed to find a more modern retro shooter experience all year.
Blazing Chrome.
Robots are allowed pretty much anywhere in the building as long as they look the part, whispered Mr. Silton. You just need to be wearing no clothes and have the blankest of faces.
At number 4, having launched on July 18th on PC, Horace is a story-driven platform adventure game sprinkled with more than a smattering of popular cultural references, eccentric British humour and colourful, exquisitely produced pixel art. Developed by Paul Hellman and Sean Scapelhorn, Horace is a platformer at its heart with Metroidvania-inspired abilities players can unlock as they progress. Horace tells the tale of a robot AI told in the first person, which begins simply enough and builds with layer upon layer as you progress, with Horace evolving, with the story taking you through a wide variety of emotions. All in its well-placed, poignant and easy to invest time within Horace's world. The platforming at times can feel a little tricky, and some of the puzzles are right proper head scratchers, although I've no real complaints in this department. Horace was a fine surprise, although as long-term viewers already know, I am a big fan of games like these with a solid and engaging story. Horace is a treat and one well worth getting hold of.
War is here.
At number 3 and out this past July 11th on PC and Switch, Tiny Metal Full Metal Rumble is basically Advance Wars. Okay, so it's a turn-based strategy game that's clearly very influenced by Advance Wars, and yet it's also the successor to the Tiny Metal game which came out in late 2017. As for how this plays, well, essentially the overall gameplay is very similar to Advance Wars, which for me is a very good thing. You begin each mission with your army and move them over the grid. As you see off enemy bases, you can produce new equipment up to the likes of tanks, artillery and fighters, with the forces controlled by the usual point and click mechanic. Tiny Metal isn't a complete rip-off, as I flippantly mentioned kind of earlier. The new assault and focus fire abilities up the combat features, particularly the focus fire option, where you're able to assign multiple units to target the same enemy. This time you're also able to run out of fuel and ammo, which adds further depth. The lack of a checkpoint system is, however, frankly maddening. You can play for half an hour or longer, lose, and you're back at the start, which is a real pain in the backside. But still, if you're a fan of Advance Wars, this is going to be one for you. At number 2, Songbird Symphony, like WonderSong towards the end of last year, is a completely unexpected surprise. I picked it up on the Switch a few days ago as this video airs after recommendation from a viewer sent to me over Twitter. Developed by Joystake Studios, Songbird Symphony merges an exploration platformer with repeat after me rhythm sections come minigames. You play as a small bird amongst a pride of peacocks, where not long after birth you realise you're a little bit different to everybody else. With that, you set off upon a journey to discover your true parentage. It's a classic ugly duckling kind of tale, all within a quite lovely looking world with detailed background environments, some notably impressive animations, and a fair bit of well-written constructed background lore. Naturally enough, in a game where music is so integral to the gameplay, the music here is well paced and perfectly suited to the environments, particularly the boss battles with their sing-along style lyrics. If, as I mentioned at the start, you liked last year's WonderSong, then Songbird Symphony is essential playing. It's out now on the PC, PlayStation 4 and the Switch, which also has a demo on the eStore. At number 1, Sky Children of the Light is available now on iOS, and is the new release from that game company, with it all being a close sequel to their previous game Journey. Yes, it is a free-to-play game, and there are in-game microtransactions, although I didn't spend a penny and never felt pressured to do so. While you can play solo, Sky is best explored and played with others, and encourages positive interactions. While I played alongside friends, it was meeting and interacting with strangers that makes Sky such a wholesome experience. In one playthrough I met someone and we stayed together for the best part of an hour and a half, during which we played music to each other, gave each other glowing butterflies, and at one point we joined 2 other people, held hands and flew into the sky to play amongst the clouds. Visually I can't recall seeing anything quite like Sky on the mobile platform, although on balance I'm fairly sure I'll enjoy playing it even more when it comes to PC or consoles, simply because I'll be able to use a controller. The touchscreen controls were, for me at least, hit and miss, and while that's a minor gripe, it did slightly diminish from the overall experience. As you could expect, the story, like Journeys, is implied through play, and there's no hand-holding here. The ending when it comes after 5 or so hours is magical, and there's plenty replay value associated with the multiplayer aspects. I'll be returning to this game time and time again on my morning commute to work, and fingers crossed I'll be able to play it again on the PC and consoles at some point in the future. So which games have you been playing this July? Leave a comment and let me know, and if you've liked this video, please click that like button. If you haven't done so already, now would be a fine time to subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to click on that notification bell. As always, many thanks for watching, and I'll see you here next time on Get Indie Gaming.